Okay. So last week where we stopped off at, which was explaining the four superpower preferences as listed on page D. And of course, they want you to start off with the D first. Can you identify anyone in your life who is a high D? Now, this is what you thoroughly explaining what a high D looks like. Eric gave a great scenario. You may have your own, but like I've developed mine with using Iron Man and helping people make that connection because it's so popular. There's not many people that have not seen the show, but realizing that personality or that those characteristics. So you explaining that is to give them a basis in their life as far as to, okay, I can see the behavior and now I see it, now I know what I'm looking at. I thought they was just mean and belligerent and didn't care. Yeah, I thought that was them. Now we stop laughing, Ebony. So now I'm like, so now when you explain it, they like, oh, I reckon they're not being mean. That's their approach. That's their tendency. They all about results and tasks and getting us moving forward. It sounds like that because there's no emotion to it. So once you're able to explain that thoroughly by understanding it, especially if you are one, we can be misunderstood. And so, which is one of those, it's like 7 questions that you want to ask a person also if they are difficult, like do they understand their blind spots, how do people view you? How are you misunderstood? What do you want people to know about you? What are you willing to do in order to make the changes? What are you willing to do as far as you and that person's connection? And do I have permission to coach your behind? Do I have permission to speak into your life? And basically what I'm saying is call you out. Do you have permission from that client? I said, almost say resident, that client to call them out and say, hey, this is what's going on in your life. And this is what you're doing. I'm holding you accountable. You said you wanted to work on, excuse my analogy, you said you wanted to work on your left hand because your right hand is strong. Well, why you keep shooting with your left hand? Why you still doing that? Okay, I think that you done did this several times. It's time to stop it. Tie your left hand up. Whatever your approach is or your method to get them to not do this certain thing and be conscious of it so it now becomes automatic. So whether that's a D in his approach to somebody, and being not mindful of who he's around. See, there's healthy D's, there's healthy I's, there's healthy S's, and there's healthy C's. And if there's a healthy one, there's also an unhealthy one. There's an unhealthy D that is just super negative and self-centered, narcissistic, only care about their progression. They get on the plane and or trying to take off and they don't care who's behind them. They don't care if you're sitting in your seat. Hey, we moving. You should have been sitting down. Like, man, you just put me in danger. You took off and I could have bumped my head. Oh, and then they have to learn from that mistake that their approach, being sued, being laughed at, being not considered. And everybody's like, and then that D is like, why they treat me like this? Have you been looking at how you've been treating people? Those are some of the questions you may have to approach with them. Same thing with an I. An I can be a tyrant too. They can come in with so much energy. And I think Eric explained that. They can suck the life out of the room. Just take it all and don't give nothing back. Because they so all about them. And then if you do say something, they like, why'd you say that? You said one little thing. One little thing. Probably not even absolute. It may not even have to be directed towards that person. You can be talking to somebody else and they hear it. Oh, they talking about me? Why you? No, baby. No, sis. This ain't got nothing to do with you. But if the shoe is fitting, you need to look at that. And how can I get better? How can I be more aware of where I'm at? Even with an S and a C, they can have all this knowledge and power and won't share it. Sitting with the plan, won't give it out. So you're going to go through that, whatever method of analogy to help them understand the DISC. And it's also right there on the paper when you pull up like somebody's assessment and it's asking you, this is the how portion, where everybody, y'all know where that is, right? When it's when we get to the page where everything is let me pull this up desktop. Let me pull up somebody's assessment. I'll pull up this person. Okay. Stop sharing and reshare. Where that boy? Oh, here we go. Okay, y'all see that? So when we speaking of that, this person is a high D. But now when we get to this page, this is part of the explanation of this is the how you tend to approach problems. These are the 4 P's of a person: your problems, people, pace, and procedures. The pace has to do also with pace and environment. But this is the how you that you're explaining to this person, how you tend to approach problems and make decisions, how you tend to interact with others and share opinions, how you tend to pace things in your environment, your preference for established protocols. This is how you approach protocols or how you follow them. You know, perfectionist, systematic, careful, analytical. These are the high ones, the caution. And so you're going to explain that to them. And part of that word play is, I think we're moving into, I'm be going back to the 4. We're now on 5. After you've reviewed the client's graph to reveal their superpower, discuss how each element represents a superpower or character. They want you to explain the D first, because everybody can really quickly connect to that negative experience from a D that they may be misinterpreting. So we start off with that. Now, once we've explained using the power assessment or the passport characters, he uses, you know, the pilot, the flight attendant, as far as getting that understanding of each one of the people, which is back here as far as where that boy. Okay, the D, I say Iron Man. The I is your Thor, and the S is the Incredible Hulk, because these 2 people. Because we got the pace. Bruce Banner, very slow pace. The Hulk, when he turns into the Hulk, that's when he right here, chaotic, active, spontaneous, restless. He destroying everything. That's when he comes in as a adaptive. And then your Captain America. This is when he's up here in his highest level, doing everything the right way, perfectionist, you know, everything laid out, orderly plan. So whatever yours be, I know that Darrell's is Royal Minds. So Darrell is established with Royal Minds, and we're using Jews. So he's explaining it from that position with that person at 4. Which I'm sorry, no, that's at 5. So that's now, and this is where we're using page 5 to interpret the client's score. So that's where, going back in here, you seeing their numbers, you know, and you may be going back to it, because we're going to speak to the one that is the highest, also the one that is the biggest gap. So hers being 99.81, this is where we going. We take her to page 5, and to try to help that person see themselves, I show you afterwards how to read it, that this is 0, and then it's 1, 2, and so on. But you are to explain it to them first. Where are they? Where do you think you at? Between the 2 words, gregarious and introspective, not necessarily looking at them, but what character words stand out to you? Which ones are, and I think y'all should remember, I said this with you, what stands out to you? Which one is you? What do you think you at? And let's go with the first thing on your mind. Let's not try to overthink it. Let's not try to process it too much. Just really, where you at? And sometimes the people hit it dead on the spot. Some people are like, no, I'm really right here or sociable. They will hit their adaptive sometimes more than their natural. Because if they're the first engagement with you, they may not be as open. Now, high I, they usually with an interaction of a one-on-one, they'll be like, oh, I'm inspired. They might usually hit it right on. This is where I'm at. This is boom, 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 boom. Now, if they somewhat aware of themselves, they may say, nah, they may be hesitant to tell you that. You follow what I'm saying? But not too often. A high I is pretty very much energetic. If they high, they gonna tell you, no, I'm right here. I love inspiring people and being persuasive. A S, because they so supportive, they're gonna be hesitant. They might be a little hesitant. You'll fill it out and have the senses the more you're doing it with people. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. You may notice a different approach with S's as opposed to a different approach with I's. But we will all basically have a senses of how we're dealing with them and who we're dealing with. But this is for them to understand this. And once they say, like, say if the woman said, well, I'm enthusiastic, I think that's the word that stands out for me. And then when I show them, okay, well, let's see where you really are. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom, you right on point. Applaud them for that. Encourage them. A high I needs that. So it's like, man, you really do know yourself. That's spot on. You also fall, because you're 81, you fall right in line with inspiring, enthusiastic, and sociable. Do y'all know why we go, like, even if they hit dead on and that number was 81, why do we look at the one above and the one below? Does anybody know? Take a stab at it. What you think?
Mm-hmm. Is it like in between their natural and adaptive, or?
You close. You real close. It has to do with sometimes the inconsistencies or this circumstance or the situation may bring out some more inspiring, an inspiring tendency from them, depending on the environment. Or they may be a little bit more sociable. Maybe this is the first time in that environment, but naturally they're enthusiastic. They more enthusiastic. But you're really right, because it is between that adaptive that can bring about the inconsistencies. And once they get maybe a little bit more comfortable or scope out the room, they go right into their natural and they'll hit enthusiastic or possibly inspiring. So that adaptive is kind of like the in-between based on the circumstance of the situation. Now, because it's going to cause them to drop. Now, this is where they have a tendency to operate most likely in their natural. That adaptive kicks in when I think hers was 99, 81. Well, we went to 81, but her number was, let me take it back. Was that 99? Yeah, 99. So she's here. Persuasive, gregarious, and inspiring. What makes her drop down to enthusiastic, inspiring, and sociable? But she hit more here. She's only 1 degree above it when we come to her adaptive. And that's where you questioning or trying to help her see when she does it or when has she done it. Bring that to their attention. We're trying to reveal the blind spot and possibly reverse or stop the manufactured behavior that she keeps on doing, or her or him, that they keep doing, and it's going to cause, strain or stress. Like, why are you doing that? You have to ask questions. Ask the right questions. What I mean by the right questions, like, how do I know to ask the right question when I first time meeting this person? This person going to reveal very much to you. They're going to tell you a lot of things about themselves in the beginning as you're talking about this, and things that are being revealed. It's in their comments. It's in their body language, how they're moving. I get some people really paying attention. Then when you hit on the spot and they kind of back up. What got you? What are you thinking right there? You know what I'm saying? What caused you to think that? Well, I just was realizing when such and such happened this one day. Now they telling it to you. Pay attention to the body language, their attentiveness, things to that nature. They revealing a lot of information through the body language as well as speaking, and that's how you learn to. Another thing that helps, that there's some things on YouTube if I'll find and bring to you to how to read body language. Also used to read a book that showed body language. Not all the time a person crossing their arms mean they in disagreement. Sometimes that's them hugging themselves. Also is them trying to sometimes pull together both hemispheres of their brain to really get an understanding of what's going on. It don't mean always they mad, but you can find a basis of the truth when you ask the questions. Now, okay, when they upset, that's when they do it. And then if you see it, you can call them out on it. Did I upset you? I'm sorry if I did. No, yeah, I guess it did upset. You know what I'm saying? We can pull this out and keep having conversations about it to make them aware when it happens. So now they might change how they operating with you. You make them upset and they keep their hands straight and like, why are you looking so stiff? What's going on in your life? Well, I don't know how to. It's all about you, being the natural you. You got to bring them back to that. We're not trying to cause no stress. The natural you is your superpower. Be your I, be your D, be your S, be your C, and do it unapologetically. Do not apologize for being who you are or how you operate. Next, we're going to move into, so once you give them that little bit of explanation, remember, we're trying to keep this to 30 to 45 minutes. So as we run through that, that's what you know, but not try to be too much of a stickler on time, because they may start opening up and sharing depending on who you're talking to. They can put it out there. So you also have to be able to navigate it and redirect and keep us on point. Like, let them know I don't have that much time. I want to get you as much of this information as possible. That's why in that beginning, you're only dealing with the biggest area of a fall. The biggest gap is what you want to try to reveal to them. It could be in the D, but this is also the biggest one. So this is their superpower, showing them how to use that superpower correctly and command it. So once we've made it through that point, and we then go back to the adaptive and the natural, explaining that to them. We on number 6, page 2. Explain the difference in the natural and the adaptive. The natural is when you are not thinking about your thinking. Comfortable, familiar, it is what it is. Adaptive part, when you are aware that you are being observed, or when you're thinking about what you are doing. Have you ever, y'all noticed that if you're thinking about the thing that you're doing, you're more prone to make a mistake? And that's what can happen when that person is that, and that's a stressful area, because it's like you're not being your natural you. Now you paying attention. You worry more about what another person is thinking than how you think and feel. Like you can read their mind. And now, and so you look stuck and you look out of pocket. Reference, it says on the next one, let me go back and reshare that one. Where we at? We right here in 6. It says reference, everybody can see this? Okay. Reference how this also represents how and what they think and how they behave based on thoughts and beliefs from a past experience. All these behaviors were established in your past. Nobody got like this overnight. This is a process, circumstances, situations. You are, to a certain degree, you're their therapist, but you're not trying to fix them. You're trying to help them understand themselves. When a person understands themselves, it's faster for them to make the changes because they came up with it. You're just coaching them and saying, I totally agree. You're absolutely right. Now, how do you want to go about trying to change this? What can I do to help you become better? And if you got some techniques and, okay, well, let's try this. Let's give this a try. because they coming to you. You're the expert. You're the one that knows how to help them make these changes from your experience and expertise of how you made changes in your own life. For me, understanding this disc, it helped me make changes in my own life as well as in my marriage. And I never thought I was complete. Being open, being fat, faithful, available, and teachable allowed me to see it when my mentor was showing me, and I was once teaching him. But to get this understanding is like, okay, I got to change the role. You teach me. And I'm like, oh, it just enlightened me even more, gave me more fuel, more tools to be able to do what I'm doing. And it's going to do the same thing for you. So the next one says, then show them which superpower they prefer to use. I kind of did that. You're going to talk to them about that. But this is the steps in the process. This is one you prefer to use. Her eye, that's her superpower. This is your go-to. When in trouble, that's the one you rock out with all the time. You sweet is there. Like Michael Jordan always had, if there was a clutch 2-on-1, 3-on-1, he did that turnaround jump shot. Fake, turn around on you. Bow. Fading away so the person can't block it. He perfected it. That's what most people do, and they don't even know they got that perfected. And they'll do it in a stressful situation or even when they just relax. It's their go-to. Ask questions and get them to give you examples of how they may use each one or how they may notice others use theirs. Because remember, they should be seeing that D being direct and So how do you see a person using their eye? How do you use your eye? How effective are you? How do you notice when you're doing it? And the more questions you ask to give them a basis, to get them thinking, also you to know who you're talking to. You will look like a genius, and they are the ones coming up with the analogies or the understanding. And that's what you want. It's like, even with my counseling with residents, I tell them, look, I'm only maybe 5% of your process of you getting better. It's all you. And over time, the more we're working with them, I should become less. The less I am, the more it's you, the more you realize you can do this and make the successful changes by recognizing who you are and accepting it. When you give them that, now they want to give you all the praise for helping them get to where they at. That's a coach. That's a coach. It would make no sense for Michael Jordan's coach, I just use him, I know everybody's familiar with him, and Kobe Bryant, for Michael Jordan's high school coach to be mad that that man is successful. That don't make sense. Isn't this what you was trying to get me to reach my fullest potential? And he's successful, and you sitting back like, that's some bull. He made it. I thought that was your coaching job. And he was mentioned. He was pulled into documentaries. You the first person to cut him. Yes, I did. But I also made him get better. And that's why we here. He got paid for sitting in on that time to be interviewed. It also brought him more notoriety. As he's running the high school, you the one that coached Michael Jordan? You the one that cut Jordan? Hey, I want to make it on the team. I want to get on your team. You follow what I'm saying? It comes back. Now, he ain't trying to push and out there saying, hey, I'm the one that coached Jordan, and here go my book, How to Coach a Champion, which he should. If he was in my position, I would be writing about that and speaking and trying to help other people, starting his own camp. It can bring that type of opportunities to you when you really put somebody in the best position. That's why I'm almost kind of like, it's hard for me to charge a certain price and stay there. I know how beneficial it is, but at the same time, I know more so that if I give you this and it changes your life, you're going to rave about it. Think about most of you the first time you got saved. How you felt. You was trying to tell everybody. You was telling the homeless man, the person who you know you didn't have a fist fight with, you need to get, you ready to tell everybody of the change. When it's powerful and big, if they become successful, tell me, how did you get like this? Well, it all started back with my mentor, such and such. He put me on the road. They gonna mention you. You're gonna be put in a book. I guarantee it. And that's gonna bring more notoriety to you. The next one, here are recommended questions to ask the client, just some things to get you started. Do they notice how they may use these daily without being aware? Do they notice these characteristics in others? Can they tell when they are adapting up or down? Do they know what is the cause? The underlying beliefs, I call it BS, belief systems. Underlying belief has to change in order to change the habit. I tell them, what BS going on? They're like, what do you mean? No, I mean your belief system. Because your belief system is your ground that has you doing everything you're doing. And once we really connect the why to it, which is the values and the drive, oh man, woo, that's a game changer. This is how you do stuff, and this is why you do it. And when they can see that, and you bridge the gap, letting them know as well it's all right to be them, man, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. Now, what I explained in the beginning as far as revealing the gap, draw a connection with how the gap or their largest change in behavior between natural and adaptive styles may affect their progress towards their goals identified during the beginning of the call. So this is something that's kind of taking you back to the top. This is what you want to be letting them know, that these blind spots or these gaps that you see in their assessment as far as their bars may be the blockers, or not won't say maybe, are the blockers of their success, why they can't move forward. You follow what I'm saying? So this is something you're speaking to them in the beginning, but we're going to show it to them at step 7. And that's where you showing them through the graph, you showing them this. We done moved all the way down through it. And this is where we conduct that version of the wordplay. When I'm at that step is where I'm saying, like, look, okay, which one do you connect with? Ask your client which 2 of the 4 elements displayed on their report, would they like to focus on for this portion of the consultation? I normally don't do that because but usually the one that is the biggest gap, that's the one they're paying the most attention to. That's the one that they like, why is that? Ooh, that's a huge drop. Why did I drop? Let's just go right on to it. We're going to take you right there. Share the wordplay chart with your clients to show them the exact word that describes their behavior tendencies in the 2 elements that they've just selected. And that's where we was just, okay, which word do you think is you? Let's see where you at. Let's see how aware you are. But just pick a word that stands out the most to you. And then show them how to read it. Show them where the connection is. You will have some people who might be disagreeable with a word. Let's pull up the understanding of it. Let's pull up the definition. A few clients, we talked about the word passive. Even when it was me, when my mentor was taking me through it, passive stuck out, but I thought it just stuck out because I hated it. Like, I don't want to be passive, but that's why it stuck out, because I was passive. But once we looked at the meaning, it was like, oh, just willing to let things flow because you know it's going to work out. And I was like, oh, yeah, I do that. I do see how it's going to work out, so I don't get into an uproar about it. You know what I'm saying? I can let that float on by instead of me trying to fix everything. No, that's going to work itself out. That ain't a big problem. Basically, knowing how to pick my battles. That's passive. Not in everything. So help them get this understanding and to be settled with accepting it. By some stuff is just simple definition. It is what it is. It's the truth. Ask the client to search for the definition right here of the word that identifies with the basis of their report. There may be several of the words. I don't think I'm inspiring, enthusiastic. Well, this is what it means. Do you do that? Yeah, I guess I do. Yeah. Circle challenges or portions of definition that is likely causing gaps or blind spots. That's where you gathered all that information and helping them to recognize that blind spot. This, I want y'all to write that on the very top of the page. You want to write blind spots. Blind spots are things we're not good at. This is the definition. So you always keep that in mind and let them know. And just below that, weaknesses. Weaknesses are when we try to manufacture that blind spot or behavior. You're trying to do something you're not that good at. And everybody has a blind spot. Nobody knows how to do it all. But when you try to manufacture it, try to reproduce it, that's where 10 out of 10, that's blocking you from being successful because you're doing something you're not good at. I used the analogy, I think a while ago. Let's say you got this job. Let's just use Home Depot and you a hostess. You a high I. You love interacting with people. I mean, you so good with it. It even looks like you're selling them, giving them direction. And the manager or the regional manager sees this and says, man, that they so charismatic with people. I think they'll be a good manager. So now he offers you the management position and the money that comes with it. And you're like, yeah, I could use that money. Oh, okay, I'm going to do it. Then when you find out, because a high I may not look at all those details and look at how happy they are doing what they do, they see the money, and that's where the values come in. If they got a high economic, they're going to choose that boy. And so they managing, but now they're having to direct people. They're having to possibly fire people. They're having to sit in the office in a cubicle and deal with all the different negativities that come up with it. So when they're sitting there doing that, now they miserable. And they remember when they were sitting out as a hostess talking to the people, but they sitting in there doing this paperwork and they upset. They not interacting with the people. They out of their zone. And so now they start slacking in the job. They getting reprimanded. They more tired, more drained. They're operating in their adaptive. That adaptive has dropped down. They feeling more stressful. I see you, Ebony. Can you say the definition you have for a weakness? Oh, when you have the weakness is manufacturing that behavior. It's when you're manufacturing that behavior or blind spot. That thing you not that good at, you like, I can do it. Yeah, but are we doing it well? Remember, you come into the game, you nice with that right hand. You a high I. Now you trying to raise that high C and be detailed because of the money, but your strength is the I. It's going to be some conflict. Somebody going to be struggling. They're going to be upset. And that's why I'm explaining that scenario. Now they sitting behind the desk in that cubicle, away from people, doing this paperwork, can't interact with the people. They getting the money, but they unhappy. They unhappy. And now when this person knows their strength and know that this hosting makes them the happiest, it's kind of like, okay, check this out, manager that want to give me this job as a manager. Let me manage the hostess. Put me over the hostess. Let me show people how to be a better hostess. I could definitely teach that interaction. Let me do that part. Or if I can continue doing the hosting and meeting the co-workers and helping them as well as customers, and you have somebody else do the scheduling, somebody else do the paperwork, because this is my strong suit. And if I can do this, I can get the employees to be happier, more greeting, more open. You follow what I'm saying? If that person knows who they are, they play to that strength, and the manager says, wow, that makes so much sense. We can get somebody. It's a lot of people. It's somebody on your job who love to do the paperwork. Let them do the paperwork if that ain't your strong suit. But when they say, this is what we offering you, and you don't negotiate, because you don't know where you at. No, you're not self-aware enough of that strength in you. Destruction is on its way. It's on its way. I see this not just in jobs. I see this in relationships. People getting relationships, getting married, and this person needs this from them, and they like, I'm gonna be it, but they a high D, but they submit to this person, and they've been living in all this stress because that adaptive has been dropping down because they lowering their power. And now this person is like, then all of a sudden they get comfortable and frustrated. Then they're like, you know what? They be in that D, and it's like the husband or the wife is like, why all this pushback? Why you do? Who the hell is this? Where this person come from? And it's like they've been there the whole time, but they've been operating under that adaptive. And now we married. Boom. Hey, you finna do? Whoa, wait a minute. Because they were afraid to be authentically them in the beginning because they were afraid this person will reject them. These are conversations we need to have in the beginning. These are the discussions that will grow the relationship, keep the relationship thriving. When we can be that honest. And when that person says, okay, I understand that about you. You want to drive some. Okay, we can do that. We can do that. But understand it's a give and take. Let me drive some. Let me be the head. Whatever you work it out. And that maintains the strength in the relationship. I don't know why I'm talking about that, but that will definitely help the strength of the relationship when we understand each other. Now, once you go through a lot of this, there's again, he says now there's a brief introduction to the deep dive, the action plan. Ask your client, what was your biggest aha moment during the call? At some point in time, I believe, I know I did this with y'all. What impacted you? What made you think about this? What did it do? What was a moment that I just realized it? Was it everything? Or what was that one particular thing? You want that feedback. You want to write that down, when they had that aha moment to help you make that connection. This is all during the call. Then the suggested deep dive, a step-by-step guide to leveling up in every area of their life. Suggested weekly or monthly sessions. This is now the part that can get a little tricky with now asking them for the business. Do you see the value in it? You explain that it's a 1 month type thing. You can do that right after number 9 or lead into with the prices. How much is it worth? I usually do with that. I go right into once they've had that aha moment and they explain that to you. How much is this worth to you? Give me a figure. How much would you like to put forth with this? That is something you're going to have to play with. Because you might already automatically have a set price and say, this is what I charge. And they may be like, well, we can make monthly payments. We can do it such and such way. And you have to stick with that. You got to be stern and stay with it. If that's what you're going to do. If you got a set price, stay with your set price. If it is how much is it worth? And you willing to take this person on for whatever the value that they say. High C's and high S's will often, oh man, if I had $1 million, I'd pay. That ain't what I'm asking. That ain't what I'm asking. Because it's harder to pin them down on an absolute. A D and an I will take, yeah, man, I give $50 for this. Okay, we talking $50 every week. And we can go about that. You can do the numbers. That's such and such a month, $250 a month. Boom. That's what we're looking at, paying it off $50 a month. Let's go. Oh, okay, bet. That's what we'll do. I'll send you an invoice tonight. And let's get started. You just pull them in. Also with them knowing their goals and knowing their the things that they want to try to accomplish, that's where you're putting together resources and bringing that stuff to their attention. Upon agreement, establish the frequency and the length of the time for coaching. That's another thing you got to be careful on. Making sure it's worth your while. We giving you an hour. Is your cost, your charge, working out? You follow what I'm saying? Don't have yourself where you're doing 2-3 hours with them, and when you break that down by what you charged, you getting $2 an hour. Don't do that to yourself. They got to see the value in what you bring. You got to know the value in what you bring. You got to know how effective it is and how it has changed your life. You're living proof. The car dealership or the doctor's office, he do not debate with you on his price. This is to save your life. You gonna pay this or not? The car insurance, same thing. This is what we charge. And if it's a payment plan, you got to make sure you make that clear. This is no different than that. I'm running a business. So if we're breaking this down weekly or we're breaking this down monthly, however you want to, make the payments, this is your commitment. This is my commitment. You can go as far as creating a contract. If that's what you want, this is what this person committed to, put your clauses, put your things in there, or you can keep it verbal, depending on until you develop to that degree. But don't stop trying to pursue this because you don't got that in place. You can keep this verbal. Let the person know. It's a good thing too when you might want to record your session if they're open to that. So I got it documented what I said. This is what we said we were agreeing upon. Boom. Because this is it's a profession and you want them to respect it. Then we're talking about the assessment. This goes back into the deeper dive as far as what you're going to go through. There is a lot of information within the assessment to work through with that person daily. Did you recognize this about your D? What happened in your I? Okay. In addition to that, but what are the goals? What are the things that they're trying to work on? Is that a book? Is that the marriage? Is that repositioning themselves in the company? Then speak from it. Just the other day, my wife got a confirmation. I had been talking to her about, because she's a high C and she has this information, but the job that she's in as this information specialist, and she tracks so much information, she tracks it. And so finally, with some of her frustration, I was finally like, okay, we need to put some documents together so they see your value and what you have been dissecting. She's the one that's trying to keep them in procedure and keep everything flowing. But they've been doing things out of pocket. And she's a stickler for wanting to do it the right way, which is going to move the company forward and keep it professional. But every time when they get out of pocket, it falls on her as far as she's continuously fixing it. So I finally was like, get the phone reports, show them the volume of calls and why you need someone to make these phone calls, because her job is basically, it's like they don't want to accept how important her job position is, because she keeps every client that comes in compliance with their license and does the research, and it takes time. But they got her making customer calls, which really she should be a manager in this position and train other people how to do it. But they're wanting her to do both. And she's like, I got it documented. When I ain't making no phone calls, I can clear 45 people. When I'm making phone calls or accepting phone calls, I can only talk to 19 people. But you keep asking me why we behind. So I was like, I know it don't make sense. So let's line this stuff all up, boom, 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 and make this presentation. She has documentation of other things to help the system. I said, we ain't giving them that. They're going to pay for that. That's what they're going to do. Give them this other client list, but let them know I got this, and this is what's going to really change y'all. And she got it all on a jump drive. I said, y'all pay me, change my position, then I'll give you this. But you're going to pay me handsomely for it. She's like, okay, I'm going to work on it. Boom, 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 boom. She got a phone call from one of the 4 partners. The woman called her and said, look, she confirmed everything I said. She said, you need to do this, present this to the boss, lay it all out, and go and talk to him. I was like, only God knows. This is, if you don't do it, you're not going to get the respect or the pay that is supposedly coming to you. You got to demand this, and you got to walk in this newness of understanding. And so it's like, yeah, I'm coaching her and I see where she is as far as her D and all through that whole process. because that can be the tendency sometimes of a high C and a high S. Have all the knowledge, but won't necessarily walk with it or walk through it. And this is the guidelines or the suggestions that you may be faced with helping some of your clients. Let's put these things together so you can start going after what you want instead of complaining about it and never getting it. With this, as far as the deep dive, you're going through this, you're revealing the superpower. Focus on the strengths and what is working, how and why it's working. Becoming the villain, overuse of your powers, talents. You might have somebody who's too much of a D. You know what I'm saying? The solutions, strategies, task driven versus people driven. That's all inside of the when you go in their assessment. When you go back into the disc. Let me pull it up real quick. When we're right here, is also in one of the paperwork you guys got, how it explains how the extrovert is going to be more out talking. That's the high I, where the introvert of a person, if that's out here, sort of like the opposite of this, you're talking with a person that's fully expressive of themselves. The paperwork that I gave you explains that introvert and extrovert as well. Also, a person who's more task orientated. That's your D's. And sometimes your C's. They can fall more in that area because that C is about, hey, procedure. Do it this way. Boom, 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 boom. And then you got your I's and your S's that are about the people. The I is trying to lead them. The S is trying to support them. And they're giving of themselves. They almost live for helping someone. They're okay with being Robin to Batman. They're okay with being Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan. They're okay with that. I mean, we've seen it in Hollywood. Some people walking away with the Oscar is the supporting cast, the supporting actor, not the main character. You were such a great support, we got to give you an Oscar. Same thing, they out there. And then you have this to work with. You got a lot of information in there that you can take this person through a 90-day or a 6-month process to help them remain more authentic. And if they're willing to, or you're willing to, they can revisit it. Let's do another assessment. Let's see if there's been any growth. Let's see if there's been any change. Or just, do you recognize that you changed? Do you recognize you've raised your D, or you've become more comfortable with being authentic, where your adaptive and your natural is the same? We really want to try to get people to be just natural them. And the more they're naturally them and embracing that, they have more power to make changes if they want to, because they understand where they are. We're basically reconstructing the foundation, or helping them get back familiar with the foundation and then build upon it. It's not as shaky. It's more stable. So we're shepherding people, leading people into being really the most authentic them and non-apologetic. That's what people are going to benefit the most from this. And you're going to look like their therapist. You're going to be their coach, their whole nine. That's my thing. I've adapted this as I'm a power coach. I help people become more aware of themselves, see their own issues, come to terms with them, see where it stemmed from, how they got there, and make the changes that are necessary in their life in order for the growth, to realize they're the issue and not everybody around them. You know, and that also comes in those other questions of, you know, you asking that person, you know, how do they want to be seen? Are they misunderstood? And the more you get into that, the more equipped that person is with life, or being more confident. And then you may get into where you got some of these people, they may not jump the gun right immediately. That's your S's and that's your C's. You might have to send a contract to the client outlining the following. That's, like I already suggested, you could develop that, but do not try to pursue clients or obtain clientele because you don't have that in place. Grow to that. There's some there's some things that will help you put the contract out there from, what is one of the places? Square, which is owned by Cash App, or they own Cash App, whichever one. It lets you put together an itinerary of this is what we're getting, what the person is getting. PayPal allows you to do that as well, put that itinerary together and basically send that invoice and that contract out as far as these other services that they're getting. Scope of work, goals, desired outcome of the client, frequency of the meeting, coaching, investment structure. Sometimes I send you guys the invoice with the Cash App, and it may be 6 of 5. This is or 1 of 5. What I'm saying, as far as payments, and we're going down through there because you mapped it out so they can be on track and you can be on track. Non-coaching clients, the clients that's kind of a little bit more resistant, this is your follow-up. 24 hours. Sample message below. Hi, he gave you a script. It was great speaking to you today. However you want to word it for your own purposes and speaking to them, or it's a quick text message. And then you follow up again in 60 days. I have some people that, I spoke to them 24 hours because I wanted to do a follow-up because they were a little hesitant. And if they still don't move, you hit them again in 60, or you hit them again in 30. Send them a quick email. Hey, just thinking about you. Hope everything's going up fine. Here's a follow-through. It's even shorter. It's all right there laid out, as well as, you can develop yourself. Any questions? Y'all can unmic yourselves, please.
You make it sound easy.
It actually is. I mean, what makes it easy is just the continuous amount of repetition of me doing it over and over, putting myself out there, getting uncomfortable, being in the classroom setting and the coach saying, hey, Antoine, talk to such and such. You need to sell her. You need to pull her in. We're going to pull up an assessment, and I need you to act like this person, what's her name, and Antoine talk to him. When we have that thorough understanding of the behaviors, then you can emulate them to help the other person. We kind of a little bit pressed for time, but I want to give y'all that, or give you that opportunity, Ebony, as well as Rochelle. I don't know who's ready, who's more so. And let's say Darrell be a client, and Rochelle or Ebony speak to that person while he asks who that person is, and you go through this list and you talk to them. You ready? How else are you gonna get ready?
No, I need to study that some more.
This is how you study.
No, this is how you put me on the spot.
Okay. I don't want to move nobody too fast. Ebony, you've been doing this a little bit longer. You didn't already even pull some clients, so it's like, okay, I'll tell you.
Did this?
Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all what. Next week, that's what we doing.
Why don't the experienced people go back and forth?
Well, we could give them a preview. Just you try to sell me in.
Yeah, just give us a preview. And like you said, you already said we're gonna do it next week. You already said that.
Next week, one of y'all is going first between Ebony and Rochelle. We could give y'all a quick preview or a little bit of synopsis of how to go through it. Or I could send y'all the video of one of us going through it.
I was gonna say, do you got the video when we did it with Joey?
Yep.
You can send them that, and you can send them the ones that me and you did together when I first tried.
Yeah, I'll send y'all that.
Let's get a first time fresh, so we see how we gonna look next week.
Oh yeah.
See, that's the part. See, that's the part that's gonna help you, is going through that experience, not doing it correct. Because even if you still even if I give you the information, you still won't. You're still gonna miss something, but that's okay. It's about the follow through and to continue moving on and getting the critiquing as you go. We're not trying to be perfect. That's gonna come in time. Jordan at 16 years old was not ready for the NBA. It was because of the continuous repetition, high school, college, you're ready for the pros. But it was the continuous amount of practice, getting your reps in, understanding yourself when your own adaptive comes up and you're fumbling and hesitating, getting over those fears to be able to walk through the door and say, I am this, I know this. Trial by fire. Trial by fire. And it's just going to help you. And that's why I was looking at you, Ebony, because I'm like, you done already pulled some clients that done drop you $25 to do a session. I'm like, okay, let's go. We got to get there. You got people waiting on you.
It's a whole different thing.
It ain't a different thing. It ain't that different. Is
this what you call motivational interviewing?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I ain't did that.
I'm gonna send you some information on that. that is another technique I would show y'all, the motivational interviewing, going with the person's flow, repeating things back to them that they're hearing, summarizing it. Oh yeah, I learned this at where I work at, and coming across this, it was like, oh, I've been prepared for this, so I just had to jump. I was nervous, but I had to jump out there, and I did the same thing like Darrell did, like Joe did, like most of you do. I was trying to come off the cuff and memory. And he was like, dude, use your paper. The person sitting in front of me, if it was a stranger, they were probably okay with it. But the coaching team saw the flaws and said, this is what you need to tighten up to make you more professional. That critique blessed me. It blessed me, not because I wanted to do it right and perfect. I'm a high S. High C. Got to do it right. And me doing it wrong helped me because it was a lesson that I learned. So I'm not afraid now to say, hey, or speak up in the class or say, hey, what about this? When at first I'd be in the cut like, looking like a deer in headlights. Everybody else talking, I'm taking notes, I'm just listening. And then he would drop that bomb. Antoine, you at Odyssey House. Let me hear what's going on. I need you to talk to such and such. I need you to sell him. I'm like, you could have heard me rattling and shaking my bones. But it was like I had to do it to overcome it. Trial by fire got me sharper. It got me sharper. So definitely next week, y'all gonna go through it. I'm going to resend those. I'll send Darrell's, him and I's. And yeah, for training purposes, I'll send you Joe's as well, because his is the most recent, because we kind of cut into him about what he was doing. But it was like, you did the same, Darrell was like, you did the same thing I did, man. Don't feel bad. He was, and it was like, yeah, you're going to do that in the beginning. You're going to get tighter, and it'll start flowing. It'll start.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, the only thing I was going to say is it's like a thing of us being like creatures of habit. The thing is, we always want to go to memory whenever we come to a roadblock. But the thing is, sometimes memory not always the best thing, especially when the paperwork is right in front of you. Just look down at your paper. Because the thing is, even if I'm looking at you, look at me, if you got your paper position right, it's going to look like you looking directly into the camera. If we doing this basically through Zoom. And then even when me and Antoine did my very first session, when he did like my personal coaching, he had his paper there like he was writing notes the whole time. And then he finally told me when he started training me, like, no, when I was flipping pages, I was looking to see if I was on track. I was writing notes, but most of the time I was looking to see if I was on track.
I was like, what's next? Is this 5? Am I at 5? Am I at 6? I was going right down through it.
and you can't even see it because it's like it's the way that you have your stuff positioned.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just as long as you got your stuff there and prepared, you good.
What'd you say, Ebony?
Great acting.
Yeah.
I was being I wasn't trying to act. I was looking down on it.
Well, it depends on like the like your body language.
Yeah.
Well, so if you just continue to look like, you know, you're not so tensed up and you trying to figure out, okay, so where am everything right there? So you just sitting there reading.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to have the face on, like.
Well, I'll be truthful, even more truthful. I was looking through it and would be, give me a second. Okay, listen, you should.
Yep.
Literally, I did that. They was like, no, they don't know what you got going on.
They ain't paying that no attention.
They are, but they're not. This is just your process. If you was sitting in there live with them, I mean, haven't you seen when they show on the TV show, the therapist sitting there, you sitting there talking and they like,
mm-hmm.
They could be writing their grocery list. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? Or they to-do list, whatever. But it's to get out of that fear that I gotta look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, just be naturally you. I was writing notes, or I had to, hold on, give me a minute. Let me go back and make sure. Because you just said something that threw me. And I pulled that boy up. This is my Bible. Let me make sure I'm quoting it right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all have blind spots. These are my techniques that I'm telling y'all. Write that at the top of your page. I'm not just making it up. I wrote it right there. Put that at the top of your page so you remember it. Mm-hmm. So when you reading it, and the more you reading it, the more you seeing it, getting those reps in, now I can say it off the top of my head. The repetition is going to bring the power of verbatim and consistency, but yet and still, when I'm selling a person or trying to, get that sale, I still go off that list. You make it your own.
What deciphers? I don't know. What deciphers you or make you different from a therapist?
That's funny you ask, because as I was taking my test to be a certified substance abuse counselor, I come across this teaching. And the woman said the defining thing between that therapist and that life coach was, it was this thick.
That's what I'm like.
It was that thick. It was a line. She said it's a line. Because it's not taught in school. They teach this in college and the lines can't get blurred. But staying in your scope of practice is not you saying, like I'll use Rochelle as an example. I have a little bit of a degree of understanding in nutrition, vitamins, and things to that nature. My wife worked at Dell's Health Food Services for like 6 years. At the time, I was trying to body build. So it was like, I understand certain things about amino acids and what you should eat and what you should take. And I could have told Rochelle, well, hey, let's work. I can help you work on this and work on that and give you that information. No. I know somebody who is a certified nutritionist. I refer her to them. Stay in your lane. I'm about personal development.
Oh.
Stay in your lane. You follow what I'm saying? I got some people that I'm like, oh, you already seeing a therapist? Perfect. Perfect. Some of the stuff, and this just happened to me last week. The young lady I was talking to, she said she had a therapist, and things that I pointed out, she was like, my therapist said the same stuff. She said that's kind of reassuring, knowing that this woman ain't just saying willy-nilly, you confirming it. And I know where these issues are in my life, in my childhood, and things of that nature. When I'm pointing out her this, what's causing you to be not supportive, to not look into yourself, and then seeing her values. And it was like, ooh, what's going on? and it just pop, and it would just literally pop in my head. I'm sitting there like, how's the relationship with your dad? Man, my therapist said the same thing as my daddy, blah, blah, blah. He was in my life, but we didn't embrace, we didn't talk. She started telling me everything. It started coming out. She's actually helping herself. It is a very thin line between professional therapist and life coach. They are both professions. It's just that, go ahead.
Nope, you was just probably going to say it. Go ahead.
It's just that you have to know your lane of practice. I am a power coach. I coach people into being the better version of themselves, recognizing their issues and not allowing their issues to keep them from their prosperity, to keep them from their growth, to keep them from loving themselves, whatever those issues are. It's to stop that happening by being aware of when it is happening. When you're taking on other people's problems and issues and sacrificing your own well-being. I'm a stickler for that. Why stop doing it? I don't care if it's mama, uncle, or daddy. I've had to tell my mother, like, I love you, Mom, but I'm no longer your child. I'm your son. It's a difference. Your child, you can tell me whatever you wanted me to do, and I did it. I already got two bosses. My wife is the other one. I got God. I got more. My obligations is over here. As your son, I can try to help you. But there's another son you have too. Call him. Yes, I'm responsible. I've been that one, but not today. Not by your standards. Can't do it. Don't mean I ain't got to love you, but love for you. Because I said no. Can you come over and cut? No. Well, why not? I ain't cut my grass yet. Remember, you taught me, don't you take care of your home before you go do somebody else's work. I've had to tell her that, like, no, I ain't cut mine yet. Until mine cut, then I'll take care of yours. Or call your other son.
Yeah.
You got to be able to set those boundaries. You running and doing everything for everybody else. And so I'm a person to try to help you free that up. And then now let's get to the things that matter. Let's get to the thing that's really of importance to you, to give you the financial freedom, to give you more joy, more abundance. Let's focus on that. You become whole. And when you get that, you got more freedom. Money is a tool. I help you become more prosperous. To that problem of cutting the grass, you pay somebody to go cut mama's grass while you over here operating in what you really love to do. You know, because if you don't pursue your dream or your goal, other people are going to suffer because you don't have your resources in place. Your goal and your dream and your gift is not in place. So you're not teaching them to follow what's really deep inside. So how can I sit here and tell y'all, myself personally, do this, get your life together, line this up, become authentically you, go after your gift, go after your dream, and then I don't do it. I'm not living it. I am currently, literally, Rochelle can tell you, it's almost a conversation daily when we at work, working on an exit plan to be able to do this full time in the midst of this pandemic. I'm walking out on faith in what I know God can do. Because he's done it before. When I didn't have a job, I survived. Now I got a job, and now the understanding of this is really, I embody this. I found a gun for the bullets I always had. That's really all it is. I found a gun for it. And now I'm more confident in it. That's why it may sound like it's easy. It's like, no, I literally been doing this all my life. Most of y'all have too. When I first started talking to Darrell been coaching people, giving them advice and talking to them about things. I'm like, man, we got so far into me personally developing him and helping him reach his goals and on awareness. I was like, bro, you a coach, man. I've been receiving your money the wrong way. I should be receiving your money for showing you how to be a coach. And he was like, yeah, I think he talked to his wife. He newly married. This the married man, fresh off the block. He was like, yeah. he was like, yeah, that we talked about it. And even his wife was like, yeah, you do that. You should get paid doing that. Ain't that right, Darrell?
Yeah, I thought I was over here talking, but I was muted.
Yeah, you did that yourself.
Yeah. But yeah, he telling the truth. And that's the other thing that he helped me with as well is came to figure out that if you don't take ownership of your time, somebody else will.
Woo, boy, that'll preach. That'll preach. I remember when his direct, I don't know if he probably remembers it as well, when his own thinking about a secure job changed.
Uh-huh. Was at work, almost wanted to walk out. I'm like, man.
Right.
even to the day, it's still kind of like when I go to work, I had to like go a little bit early so I could meditate before going in. Because if I don't, it's like being there make me sick to my stomach. Cause it's like I bring more value to the world than just, well, I work at GM and I'm like, I bring more value to the world than just dropping off parts to somebody. Like, so with that being said, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I'm like,
exactly.
I'm wasting my gift.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And once you come to more of that thorough understanding, it's like, it's nothing I'm trying to shove in anybody's face. It's like, I'm just speaking my truth as far as how I've been freed. And it's like, if you're really looking for that freedom, financial freedom, time, freedom, whatever, to do things, it may not be wrapped around that thing. And then that thing that you're currently doing, then you also got to take in perspective. I had to. October the 5th is my birthday. I'll be 50 years old. I'm like, when am I? Yeah, I know. I may not look it, but yeah, I'll be 50. When am I going to take this plunge? When am I going to take this risk? I've been playing it safe so long all my life. Yeah, I got family. But when am I going to do it? When everybody's out of school and on to college? That might be too long. Life, you know what I'm saying? Life is short. It's some urgency that I have to put in place and say, wait a minute, I got to take responsibility. You gave me a gift. When I'm going to truly trust in the faith, in the gift that God put in me, and the more it starts getting developed, the more you start seeing it in yourself, I swear, situations that you in start looking different. You start looking like, y'all remember that old Sesame Street song? One of these things is doing his own thing. One of these things is out of his place. You start feeling, well, yeah, you start feeling like you don't fit. And it's like, you don't. You're becoming aware. It's almost a good and a bad thing. Start waking up. But which one you gonna keep living in? Go ahead, Darrell.
I was gonna say another thing that I learned from just being around Antoine is, see how to say it. Like he said, life is very short, but it's very long when you're doing something that you don't like doing.
Ooh. Boy, listen to that coach in you, Negro. Yes. It's long. When you ain't doing what you supposed to do, man, life is long.
Because the only thing you can think about is what you should be doing. And you know you're not doing it. So it's like, oh my God, what am I? And that's the only thing you'll wake up and think about every day. It don't matter what you do. Within your 24 hours, you'll think about that at least 10 times.
It's kind of like, in addition to that, y'all, most of y'all seen The Matrix. It's when Neo woke up. Which pill you want? And he woke up to the truth. And that one dude was like, man, he lied to you. he didn't tell you the truth what it's gonna be like. He's like, no, man, he helped us. He pulled us out of this thing. Now when I go back in it, I got more power because I know who I am. Man, the world ain't got nothing on a person that knows who they are. And when they can love them and know their boundaries and, like I said, be unapologetic and stand in that truth, you dangerous. Now you dangerous. And that'll have people like, how you get so free? How you so transparent? How you live in this life that you live in? They'll start sowing into you. I trusted like I know the back of my hand is brown. The world will make way for your gift.
Mm-hmm.
Flat out. That's truly trusting God. That's truly trusting what he put inside of you. The world been trying to keep that docile. You work for somebody. You work for somebody. You work for somebody. Not you work for yourself and your family and bring that growth. The idea you have, it ain't worthy enough. You got an invention and you won't put it out there. I think I was telling Darrell earlier, and I'll let y'all know, y'all the first to know other than my wife. I have an invention. And Monday, it goes into production. It goes into the development stages to make it presentable to the world. They finna do all the schematics. I done gave them all the numbers and everything. They're gonna try to, I already got a prototype. They finna just try to duplicate it and see if it can be massively produced. And the gentleman I'm talking to, who the company is called Davison, they're already in the act. He said, I already got a company that I think gonna love this idea. We're going to get it licensed and get it out into the streets, out into the stores, Bed Bath & Beyond, Walmart. It's in none of these places, and I see it right on the display that it can go right next to a spatula, right next to a what they call that thing, the dipper, whatever that is. I see it right there, and it's going to help people make tacos at home.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You was talking about that.
And I'm like, I've had this idea since 2005. When the economy broke, and I was making tacos, like, it got to be a faster way to do this. Instead of me sitting there, you know how we do it, flip, and then you flip it over, and then you sitting there getting hot grease popped on you. The Lord, I know it was him, gave me another way, and it's in his word. He says, I will give you witty inventions. I was like, when else I'm going to make this happen? Whether it works or not, but I believe it's going to work, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Other people have took chances with crazier ideas, and they living the life they want to live. Mm-hmm. Jeff Bezos was talking about, he made an online bookstore, Amazon. Now he got movies. Now he got books. Now he got furniture. He got whatever you name it. Everybody else, economy-wise, has went down. And the pandemic has exploited him even more, brought him more prosperity. And he didn't plan on a pandemic. The pandemic landed on him. He just was able to survive it. You know what I'm saying? It landed in, the pandemic was more of a blessing. He was already taking over. Now it's solidified. I think he's the first person of a person's stock to be worth $3,000 a share. Mm-hmm. And he like, I was just trying to sell college books. Literally, that's what I'm just trying to sell college books. And he didn't do it alone. He had a team and they helped him develop. They helped him get it to those next stages. He kept believing. When this man was making $60 million, he was still driving his 1995 Civic Honda. And he was worth $60 million. Mm-hmm. Now you watch that, yeah. Now he got that G5 and a few Lamborghinis and whatever road, all that other stuff. But he like, I'm still somewhat the same dude. Okay, I can buy a little bit differently, but he ain't crazy like, oh, you know, ruling the world. He like, hey, if y'all knew where I came from, this dude was a cook. Mm. So I don't know who he was talking to or what he was believing, but the more he kept living in it, the more he kept moving, the dumb idea became now was saving the world. That's crazy. They told him that was stupid. It was like Jeff Bezos, that's called a library. How you gonna sell books online? That's dumb. Now the world like, wow. It's a trip. So the craziest idea may just be that thing. Mm-hmm. This profession that y'all dabbling into just may be that thing that opens up other ideas, other books into movies. I was talking to my mentor. He does the program for, I'm gonna say this and let y'all go. He does this thing for fathers. That's been his lane. He's helping fathers. He was able to make a connection with the friend of the court. This dude is now in the process of developing a program. The program is finished for newborn fathers, fathers of newborns. He is the hospitals are about to adopt his program to help newborn fathers with what they need to know. Because there's all kind of stuff for the women, you know, how to latchkey doctors to show them how to breastfeed and do this. There's nothing out there for the men. How do I father this baby? How do I hold them? How do I burp them? You know what I'm saying? How do I do this? How do I care for them? If mom leaves, or if mom goes to the store, or she walked out of my life, he's lost. So he's like, here, auntie, here, mama, you take care of the baby. No, he's gonna start educating people. I was like, bruh, do you know how global that is? We talking Europe, France, Tokyo, Italy, around the world, translations of the curriculum. And he's finna sell it and teach it and train people, all from him being all about fathers. From the friend of the court to training men how to care for their babies.
That works.
Yes. So I know whatever lane, that's another thing we're going to learn, to narrow down your lane as far as coming up with your mission statement. Who are you speaking to, and what problem are you trying to fix? And when you combine that, and that's where you stay, you know, what message are you trying to present? What has hurt you? What have you developed past or grew through? That's what you want to try to speak to. That's what you want to try to narrow down, because there's other people who you could connect to that have possibly went through what you went through. And when you narrow that down, that this is who you're speaking to, this is who you're trying to help, you know, get it solidified and specific. It'll open up as it connects with your gift. You know what I'm saying? You may have a gift to speak, but who are you called to speak to? You know, Rochelle Rochelle beautifully cooks eloquently. It's Shelton's exquisite eats. She makes that connection to the person's heart. So how do we connect that to, now that we're coaching, and she speaks to caterers as well as she caters for weddings and things to that nature. And here's another service that I have when I want you to have the full experience of this exquisite eats as I cater your party or cater your wedding. I want to bring you out on the table. I want them to have a taste of you. So that's what I'm making when I create this for you and create that for you. I'm also tapping into those things that you love and that you adore, that is the essence of you. So they're getting to taste your experience. And then speaking to that, then they like, you know what? I need you to coach me, because there's some other areas of my life I'm missing. She could speak on that as well. Rochelle's them is literally, I think we talked about this, becoming a power couple. But I forgot, how did we put that? Oh, business and pleasure. Having
pleasure.
Business and pleasure. That came out of my mouth. I was like, oh God, I want that. But I'm like, that's how y'all showing people how to have business and pleasure, how to be a married, happy couple and have a thriving company and business together. The world say you don't mix business and pleasure. The devil is a lie. I'm like, that's who you speak to. Because she definitely knows, hands down, this woman's so talented with all these gifts and how to run a company. She ran a medical, I'm just gonna tell him, Rochelle, she ran a medical facility and she wasn't a doctor. But she
owned one.
She owned it. Got the doctors working for her in her building. She giving them direction, and she ran the company. Are you hear what I'm saying? So I'm like, the resources of what we need and how we go about it, our knowledge, we right here in the room. We can help each other grow whatever it is you're trying to grow. The resources are often very close when God makes connections.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question for Rochelle and Evan.
Oh,
Okay.
Do y'all watch TV?
of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, when y'all watch TV, I don't know if y'all have started to do it or not,
Oh yeah.
but
Good point.
the way that I learned how to understand the disassessment more is to start watching TV shows and keep your notepad and just jot down the similarities to the D, I, S, and C to the characters you see on TV.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was gonna say when I
Yeah.
first started with Antoine, it was just me by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, with that, the only thing I could do was look at people around me and watch TV. Whenever I was watching TV or my wife was watching TV, I would just take a notepad and I write down the character and break down what I see. And then as soon as I got on here with him, I would ask him, like, am I doing it right? He'd be like, yeah, you done broke him down. But the thing is, and most time it's movies or shows everybody watch. That way he could relate to what I was watching.
Yep. That's a good way to, thanks for reminding them of that, Darrell. That's a good way to get some reps in. I think I told that to Joe to do that as well. We will get into that. That'll help you get these reps to be more familiar, more comfortable when you see a D, a I, a S, and a C. And because I had started doing it as well, and I didn't think, I just somehow we mentioned it, and I just was like, oh damn, yeah, you can do it in that. So me and my wife would start doing it. You know, we sitting there watching the character, and she was like, oh, they're high D or they're high. I'm like, yeah. You start getting that language more in you and talking it, especially for my couples. When y'all start doing it and you recognize it, it's gonna make both of y'all so much more sharper. And that's literally you getting your reps in, getting more comfortable with the different characteristics. And it's good conversation of bringing y'all together, your husband and your wife. It's a game.
Okay, so Darrell, give me an example of individuals you saw on TV. And
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, no, just like what movie is that? I was watching I Am Legend, and you know, pretty much that movie, you only watching Will Smith from the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as I was watching him, I started to think about it, and like first looking at him, I'm like, what is he? And then once you start to break it down, he's a high S, high C.
Yep. Yep,
The
exactly.
reason he a high S and high C is because basically you can tell he's a high C how he goes down into his lab and he keep everything like organized. And he keep trying to perfect that serum to get everybody back to pretty much back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And what is his profession?
Yeah. Oh, his profession. Wasn't he a military doctor?
Exactly. So that's about support and helping people.
Yep.
That also speaks to that high altruist to want to help people as far as a value and driven towards that. Plus he was family orientated.
Yeah. And then even during the movie, you see, like you literally see when he dropped into his adaptive, when he starts to meet other people that he didn't think was out there. And like when him and the young lady was having a conversation, he like it's nobody else out here but us. It's just me and you. And you start seeing him get more and more aggressive with her. But it's like, once you start to understand that dish, you like, why was he being so, at first you like, why he's so aggressive? When she could be true, but the thing is, once you start to see him dropping that adaptive, you start to understand how those other characteristics start to fluctuate.
Yeah, you start seeing his D and his I. Another good movie is one where there's a lot of, I mean, that's good too when you can spot the individual. But I think we also talked about, what was the show? Well, that's why I use the Iron Man in the movies, because you see all those characters and flowing together of they high D, high I, and that whole nine. But there was another movie. Was it Game of Thrones?
No, not Game of Thrones. At that, when me and you first started, Power was still on.
Yeah, Power.
Just about to.
So I was going to say
Power.
I'm gonna watch Power tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I said. I was going to go back and watch Power from season 1 to the newer season again. just to see if I can break down each person that comes into the room, basically. But it's like, even when you watch Power, you can see how Ghost you can see he a very high C. He a high C, but I also believe he a high D because,
yeah,
I was going to say, even when you see him like talking to people and communicating with them, how he just basically, he that results driven, but he also cautious at every move that he take. Now,
But
Tommy, on the other hand, he
D.
bought a high, he a D and probably a high I, because he really don't think
Tommy
about
is that high I. He's a high I. He definitely has some D, but he is so emotional.
Oh, and the other thing
oh
is
yeah,
he a high
yeah,
S as well.
Yeah, because he's very supportive of Ghost and wanting to have that approval from him. He don't mind being Robin to his Batman, but that high I seeking that approval, and when he doesn't get that approval from Ghost, he starts digressing and starts getting more, I'm finna do my own thing. And now we possibly start seeing that D adaptive raise up. Because other than that, he's agreeable with Ghost. He been all the time like, whatever you say, Ghost, we can do it. What Ghost is the man. Ghost, oh my God, I love Ghost. Let's do it. Now Ghost starts saying we changing the game. He start losing his place. Like, who am I if I don't? If I'm not, if you that and you got this company, where do I fit in? And so now his high S started dropping in that adaptive. He restless, making mistakes all over the place, chaotic, don't know what he doing. And then he a high I looking for the emotional connection because he's an extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not getting it, he can get very emotional. And so every move he made was out of emotions and anger. He started turning into the Hawk. And because he don't talk about these issues, the things that's going on underlying, which stem from his past, is how we see who we have. That's how he's showing us. That's
Would that been Dre too?
Yeah.
high
So
skin too.
yeah,
Dre is he's a high S. I'm sorry, he's a high C.
I was gonna say he a high C, just like Cannon was.
Yeah. Because this is another thing with a high C. High C's are very, they can have a certain degree of control. High C's are sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
They don't show you everything that they got going on. They, in some illustrations, when some people place them because they are so wise, but when you're looking at somebody who's wise, when you look at an owl, they use that to connect with because they go eagle, flamingo, parakeet, owl is the C. An owl looks sneaky with them eyes. He's sitting there looking at you like this. Eyes a little bit squinty. He just looked like he up to something because he thinking, he is plotting, he's putting it together. That dude was really, because like I said, Ghost is a high C because he planned. He's very strategic. People didn't even know he was Ghost. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Only those very close, his wife and Tommy. Nobody else knew when he struck.
Not even his kids.
Nobody. He right in plain sight. Very private with the thinking and the strategizing and making sure we move in the direction that we gonna go. A high C is very much the flip side of a high D. The D just telling you, I'm gonna do this. You ain't saying nothing to me. And the high S and the high C is like, They over there smiling like they got the canary in their mouth. You don't even know it until you see it and it's too late. They very smart. Very smart. That's the Einsteins. That's like I said, the Jeff Bezos. Eric put out one of the reports. He said, I think he said it in that video. He said 90 something percent of the billionaires in the world are high C's or introverts. You don't know what they're thinking, then it just happens. I told you guys about my invention and my process. There's other people I'm close to, they don't know. I haven't told them, and I probably won't tell them until they see it. Man, I know you was working on that. Yeah, it was kind of private. Only few certain people go. It's just in the nature of us. We don't do a lot of talking about what we gonna do. We just do it. High D's, high I's. They may give you play by play. They gonna still get there, but it's gonna be play by play.
I was gonna say for sure a high I will.
Say that again.
No, I said for sure a high I will. They'll give you the play by play, but let me see how I say it. They'll give you play by play, but it's hard for them to kind of take action because they so caught up with so much stuff.
Yeah, they got a lot of ideas. So it's like they'll tell you this and jump onto something else, and you can come back and say, hey, a week later, hey, did you do such and such? No, I got this other idea. I'm gonna be like, wait a minute. Why you ain't fit? This was a great ass idea. Let's finish this. You should do this. And they like, yeah, but this other one, and write it down. But keep the main thing the main thing. They got to have somebody keep them kind of, directed. Like collect all the ideas, but you stay right here. Let's work on that until it's really the baby is now walking on his own and it's a toddler at least and can go to the bathroom by itself. Then let's get on the next project. Got to stay focused with our eye. They got to stay focused. But we'll work it all out. I hope that was a blessing with everything we have come across.